Hello, my friends. Welcome to Spiritism, a closer look. We do this every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You are on Kardec Radio, and I'm Luiz Lima, your host for tonight, broadcasting from Orlando, Florida. Tonight, we're going to take a closer look at social drinking. This might be something that we can take hours and hours and hours talking about it. So we need to be very specific right off the bat on what we are going to address here. So let's just summarize a few things here so we are all on the same page. First, spiritism does not prohibit or condemn anything at all. Spiritism is a tool. It's a life tool. It's a philosophy essentially that can help us if we know how to use it. That can help us by teaching us how to work towards a better life, better spiritual life. So this study here that we are doing tonight is not about evil spiritual influences and obsessors, because that's another side of the story. This is not what we are doing today. This is about drinking and the responsibilities that come with it. So, primarily, tonight's talk is about the impact of alcohol consumption on the physical body from the spiritist point of view. There are 2 points of view when you think about the impact of alcohol on the physical body. We can see this from the healthcare point of view, material plane, or spiritist. We're going to take a look at the spiritist point of view, but we need to use some of the things that we know of in terms of healthcare. So, before we get into this, how do we define social drinking? What is social drinking? And what is not social drinking? Because if we're going to talk about social drinking, we need to uh, uh, discuss this so we are all on the same page. How much drinking is social drinking? And what's the turn point? From here on, it's no longer social. It's complicated because first of all, is there a limit to what is considered social drinking? No, there isn't. We don't have a law that specifies, 2 glasses is okay, social drinking, 2 glasses and 1 drop is not. You passed the limit. There is no such a thing. It's very subjective. Somebody might think that 1 glass is social drinking. Some other people might think that 4 glasses are is still social drinking. So it's very subjective. There's not a common ground throughout the population that defines what is social drinking and what is not. That makes it very complicated because think about this. Let's say that I think 1 glass is social drinking, more than one is not. But then by the end of my first glass, I feel like getting a second glass. So I can mentally extend my concept at that point that social drinking is 2 glasses. So you see how complicated it is. We don't have a clear cut definition of what it is. Some people define social drinking by what they think it's status and elegance. It's very difficult to define. Some people define on self justification of an underlying condition. Anyhow, there is no clear limit. Now, some of the facts that we know from science, and these are studies that we have for years and years and years, these are all well known things that you can read anywhere. Alcohol kill cells. If you take a bunch of cells, right, put in a petri dish with enzymes so they can be living, and you put a drop of alcohol in there, they're all gone. So it's a straight black and white fact. Alcohol kills cells. So some drinks have more alcohol, some less. For example, beer, 5% or around that, then wine, 12 to 15, but there are some like whiskey and vodka. Vodka can get to 95. So we have the whole range available to us for those who like to drink. Alcohol is harmful to the brain. That's a known thing. And it is because it interferes with neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are responsible for our perception. So once they interfere with neurotransmitter, it changes our perception. That's why when a person gets what we call drunk, the person's perception is completely off the charts. That perception is not what that person would perceive the world to be if not drinking. So it's harmful not only to the brain, but to the liver, pancreas, heart. Ultimately, it will cause cancer if you persist on it. Another thing that we need to consider, pregnancy. Why do women stop altogether, 100%, stop drinking anything alcohol related during pregnancy? Isn't that strange? You can drink before and you can drink after, but not during. Well, the easy answer, and the answer is easy actually, it's because it is a known fact that alcohol can cause neurological abnormalities to the incarnating spirit, to the body of the incarnating spirit. It can create retardation and different mental diseases, brain damage. That's why they don't drink. But it's kind of, so we know, but we drink. Again, Spiritism does not condemn anything at all. That's not what we are saying. Alcohol it doesn't have any nutrients. There's no nutrition. It's not a food, for example, that you take the food in, your digestive system is going to, go through a process and extract the nutrients. Alcohol has no nutrients. But on the other side, it makes it complicated for the immune system to get rid of it. It requires some work from the immune system so that can be eliminated. And that's where the thing gets a little bit more complicated when you get all of this information and what we know from Spiritism. So the last thing we said is alcohol is related to the immune system. The immune system has to work, if you will, extra hours or extra whatever to get rid of alcohol, because alcohol in the body has no nutritional value, zero. Okay, so now that we know this, let's look at the Spiritist point of view using some of this information that we just conveyed to you here. We know that we are spirits having a physical life here, and we have a perispirit, all of us. Perispirit is what links, is what is between, if you will, the spirit and the physical body. The perispirit, if you come to think of it, for academic purposes, it's usually broken down. We can break it down in different, what we call subtle bodies, to make easier for us to study and understand. We're not doing this now, but so if you break, the perispirit has a part that is closer to the spirit, and another part, the other end of it, is closer to the body. The part of the perispirit that is closer to the body is called etheric double. Etheric double. Understanding how the etheric double works is the key to understanding the effect of alcohol in the body. The etheric double, it houses the basis of all the vital centers. Vital centers are also called chakras. So the base of all these chakras is on the etheric double. So the etheric double, if disturbed somehow, it will disturb all the chakras. What are the chakras? Are windows to the spirit world. That's how we perceive the spirit world. That's how we get information from the spirit world. So this etheric double is responsible for the vitality of the organism. And this, it's like a battery in the car. Okay, the battery has a life, but as you use the battery, as you drive the car, you're using the battery. But when you stop the car, let's say 10 miles down the road, the battery is still fully charged. Why? Because you have a device called the alternator recharging the battery as you go along. The same thing is here. The vital body will recharge the body as you go along, as your life progresses. However, the vital body has a lifetime. It's like the battery. It recharges for, let's say, you ride with your car for 3, 4, 5 years, and there's a point where the battery, no matter what you do, you won't charge. You have to replace the battery. So it's more or less the same thing with the vital body, except that we don't replace the vital fluid. I'm sorry. We don't replace the vital fluid, which is generated by the etheric double. It gives the body vitality. So to recharge this vital fluid, we need nutrition, we need breathing, and we need spiritual fluids. All three. If you stop eating, you die. If you stop breathing, you die. If you stop connecting to the spirit world, you're dead. You don't have a connection anymore. So these three things will give the body the vital fluid, supplies the vital fluid that the organism needs for its life. So I said the vital fluid comes in part from the spiritual fluids. And what this is going to do is reinforce the immune system. Remember, we just briefly spoke about the immune system. So alcohol goes against or is something that draws the immune system, that is negative to the immune system. So every time you drink alcohol, no matter what quantity, your vital fluid has to react and inject energy back into the system. However, the vital fluid is generated by the etheric double where all the chakras are. So if you drink any quantity, you are using extra vital fluid. And the vital fluid, the amount of vital fluid is preset for a lifetime. For example, here's an analogy, very simple. Let's talk about cars again. You put gas on your car. You fill up the tank, 100%. Then you start the car. So the engine is now running. And you don't do anything. You just leave it in there for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, the car running. There's going to be a point where you run out of gas. And you did not use the car for its purpose, which is transportation. So you just burn through all the gas and you end up with nothing. That's more or less the same thing here. The vital fluid is supposed to be used by us for our progress in this, using our body in a physical life. Now, if we have to use vital fluid all the time to correct things that we're doing wrong, alcohol is one of them, other drugs are same thing, then we are destroying ourselves. And you see, we're not talking about quantities yet. We're talking about alcohol in general. Some people have better resistance and need less vital fluid to restore the body. Some other people need more. That's the level of, each one has its own level. However, we all have a limited amount of vital fluid for this life. And by drinking, it reduces the vital fluid available for a lifetime. So we are going to die earlier. On top of this, we all here, in one way or another, we are subject to diseases and illnesses, because that's a planet for trials and expiations where we are going to have to deal with those things. Diseases and illnesses are things that we have to deal with to offset wrongdoings in the past. So we are all subject to all kinds of illnesses and diseases. A lot of them are degenerative diseases like cancers, diabetes, arthritis, and some others. So you see, if you have already, not you is a way of saying we, right? But if we already have a condition, we have this pre-existing condition. I'm going to use these medical terms, but spiritually, we have this pre-existing condition that we are going to get sick because of our wrongdoings of past lives. If we are already under this condition, having to use vital fluid for extra work is a disaster. If you think about it, technically, it's a disaster. It doesn't make sense if you think about, put the reasoning to think. It doesn't make sense. I have to use my vital fluid to be able to survive the illnesses and troubles that are going to come my way because of my wrongdoings on the past. And for diseases and people with, degenerative diseases and more advanced diseases, if you will, for example, advanced stages of cancer, diabetes, a lot of people are cancer stages 3 and 4. If you drink alcohol, it's almost like you're trying to commit suicide, almost. Not maybe at conscious level, but yeah, it is. So, for example, you have some sort of cancer, then you had to remove parts of the body. That's part of the treatment, thanks to medicine. So now your body is on a different condition. And a lot of times what happens is after a successful surgery, you go for it, you initiate your treatment, and you go ask your doctor. We're not condemning any doctors. Please, this is Spiritism. And then you ask your doctor, is there any limitation on what I can eat, I can do? And they will say, no, not really. And then you can ask specifically, how about alcohol? They will say, no, that's okay. You see, from the medical point of view, it might be okay. But when you take this and you bring to the equation the existence of a vital fluid in a limited amount, that changes everything. Because if your body already had to go through all this trouble, surgeries, treatment, heavy medicine, and you're still gonna drink. So, we know better than this. We Spiritists. There is vast literature on Spiritism that will address this. So every drop that is avoided counts for conditions like this. However, we all have free will. If you want to do what you want to do, drink, and so yes. And you see, everything that we spoke about so far, we're not talking about quantities. Did you notice? Not about number of glasses, not about number of bottles. We're talking about alcohol in general. It doesn't really matter because it's a concept. It's not a science project that you go to a lab and you mix this amount of alcohol with this amount of water. No, that's not it. In the book, The Missionaries of the Light, dictated by Spirit André Luiz through the hands of Chico Xavier, Brazilian medium, there's a very interesting phrase, and I'm going to read it to you here. This is the phrase, quote, alcohol and other toxic substances create disturbances in the nervous centers, altering certain psychic functions and annulling the best efforts for the transmission of regenerative and salutary elements, end quote. What this means is We have mentors, guides, good spirits that come to our help. And they are discarnated. They are around us, trying to help us. They will help. That's what they're here for. They're good spirits. That's their purpose in life. They will help. But the minute we drink alcohol, we shut down the doors to what could be good help. Because you see, you have to understand, alcohol is not only physical cells. It goes beyond. It will go into. It will affect the next level, the next layer, which is the etheric double. And if that gets affected, how in the world the spirits are going to help you? It's like putting a firewall. When you drink alcohol, put in a firewall to any help they can provide. So it means you're blocking the action, potentially, of the good spirits willing to help, because alcohol interferes with the vital fluid. And so we don't get the help that we could. You see, several little things here, but it's all about understanding etheric double and vital fluid. And again, there's a vast spiritist literature on the subject. In the Spirits book, Allan Kardec asks the good spirits a very specific question about drinking. And this is question 848. This is the question. I'm just going to read through. Does the distortion of the intellectual faculties because of drunkenness excuse reprehensible acts? Let's understand the question in simple words. The question is, if you go to a bar and you drink everything you want to drink, and you go back to your car to go home, and you're drunk, and you hit another car and you kill 3 people, are you responsible? Yes or no? That's the question. Answer. Can you be excused from that responsibility? Answer. No, because drunkards intentionally, very important word, intentionally deprive themselves of their reason. Alcohol takes you away from reasoning. Intentionally deprives themselves of their reason in order to satisfy their crude passions. Instead of one wrong, they commit 2. So they will have to bear the responsibility. They will have to offset this wrongdoing, these 2 wrongdoings. And even worse, if as a consequence of your drinking, you took people's lives directly or not, it's going to be even worse because you're dealing with life. And something else I want to bring in here. Think about, for example, alcoholic parents, or one of the parents, not necessarily both, but one of them. But really alcoholic to the point that, that person gets, from the bar all drunk and vomiting. Imagine the worst. So their children look at that and they see that happening every day. Do you think they like it? No. Typically, very typically, when a man, for example, gets all drunk and gets back home, he will hit the wife, which is the kid's mother, and they are looking at it, they see it. Do you think they like it? Of course not. So shouldn't they, as they grow older, shouldn't they stay away from alcohol altogether to not follow the same path? It seems reasonable. It's almost like a no-brainer. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But no, a lot of them do exactly the same thing and follow exactly the same path. How come? Spiritism explains that. Because spiritually, they're still connected. That's what made them, kids and parents, or drunk parents and their kids, be together on this life because of spiritual affinity. So they have the same interests. They have the same look at life. So the parent that is drunk, brought in that spirit into the family as a son or a daughter because of spiritual affinity. So this son, this daughter is going to do exactly the same thing, because it's not a matter of being reasonable, only looking at life as we know here on the planet, physically speaking. No, it's a lot more than that. Anyhow, alcohol was prohibited in this country, United States, between 1920 and 1933. 13 years of ban. And of course, lobby reverted the laws at the time, and alcohol is now legalized. It's the only legalized drug that we have in the country here. Now, again, I'm going to say the same thing. We spoke here for maybe 30 minutes or so. Did it matter the quantity of alcohol in what I said? No, it doesn't. We are above the quantity. We are above the word social drinking. It's drinking. Doesn't matter what you consider, because it's different for everyone. Doesn't matter what you consider social or you do not consider social. It doesn't matter. We're talking about the effects of alcohol on the vital fluid, on the etheric double. And whatever quantity, it will create trouble. So I think we need to understand the responsibility that we bear in being given the opportunity to incarnate, being given a body, that we need to take care of it so we can function and make good use of it during this life. Right? Instead of destroying it or attempting to go against what should be. But Spiritism does not prohibit anything. It is just a tool for us to get acquainted with spiritual life, understand what it is, and make our own decisions. Free will still prevails. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I'm Luiz Lima here, broadcasting from Orlando, Florida. Spiritism, a closer look through Kardec Radio, is going to be back next week at 7:30, Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you very much. Be well, and I'll